Gorgeous. Okay. Hi there. It's me again. I just finished playing what I thought was a really, really fun match. It was a 2v2. I solo queued into it. So essentially, I'm playing with a teammate, but it is a random teammate, and we only communicate through text in this one. So it's it more or less kind of feels like solo queuing in like a MOBA or something like that, whereas you have a teammate, but your method, your ability to really cooperate is more instinctual usually, because you can't really coordinate in the moment. You can telegraph your strategies to your ally by telling them what you're doing, but it's usually harder to ask for help, like when something is really happening, because usually you're busy using your hotkeys and stuff. So generally, you gotta kind of use a lot of pings, and you gotta have a lot of map awareness, and you kind of gotta look out for your ally proactively, which I do in this game. So without further ado, let's get started. It's only a 21-minute match, so I'm not going to speed it up. Ooh, put that up there. Let's close that. We'll just watch the whole thing from my point of view. So anyways, I'm going to start scouting, send in sheep. Pretty much what I do every game is I grab my starting sheep. I will queue up my first villager to join these other villagers in gathering food. My next two villagers will head to the wood line. The first vill up will create a house. The second vill up will build the lumber camp. And then from there on, I'll start going for gold. I do like to do a little loop around my base because unless I'm absolutely certain that I can find a triple batch of sheep, like a lot of sheep very close to my base where I can run them back and forth, I do want to get some extra sheep back to my base before I start aging up, because as I start adding more villagers to food, I'm closing into building my landmark. It is about the time when these starting 3 sheeps are going to be all eaten up. And I do find that if you try to add villagers on when they're eating that last sheep, you can only really get about 8 or 9 villagers around it. And then at that point, there's no room anymore, and then the other villagers just kind of standing around stealing time. Which, as any good employer knows, if an employee is stealing time, you got to do your best to give them some busy work or something, because that is, you can't have that. My ally up here playing the Abbasid Dynasty, I know what you're thinking. He did not do the spear bug. He is a green, mean, and clean player. There is no BS coming from this guy, which is nice. I really do appreciate to see that, because it's very tempting to abuse bugs when they are found. Although, to be honest, I don't think I've ran into a single player doing an exploit, at least that I've known. I don't think I've ran into a player, like, obviously doing an exploit my entire time playing the game, and I've played almost 100 matches, so that's really cool. He's got a nice big load of sheep there, and he's going for the House of Wisdom, which, I mean, that's pretty standard. You have to build a House of Wisdom, but yeah, okay. I don't. He is scouting out blue here. Blue is playing the French, and the red player, which is around here, spoilers, is the English. My scout is moving out into the middle of the map to try and find not only some more sheep, which these ones I managed to scoop up right when red scout comes. If you realize what happened there, he'd be very upset because he almost just found a triple batch there. And I will scout out right here, yeah, the council hall, which, it's not really a matter of trying to figure out what the English player is going to do heading on to age 2. It's pretty much always going to be the council hall, because the Abbey of the Kings is worthless. I don't really need to go into detail of that. I'm not a genius. I just figured that out before everyone else. I'm sure everybody knows that the Abbey of Kings is underwhelming. We do have 5 vills on there, which is interesting. Just to let you know, 4 vills is a cutoff. You start to see massive diminishing returns after that 4th villager, so I just generally don't use more than 4 villagers to go to age 2. It's really only worth it later in the game when you have lots of villagers and you every second counts on those longer age up times, and you really need to get to castle or imperial as fast as possible. Red is right-clicking me with his scout, and he gets to watch me pick up all this beautiful sheep. Green scout is scouting around Red's base, which is nice. He's got another load of sheep there, which is good. And looks like we've got most of the sheep off the map, honestly, between the two of us. Green has a second scout out, which is very cool. That's smart. I'm seeing a lot more of that. I'm hearing about it. I'm seeing it more in games. Like, you know, Civs aren't, the Roos are taking that TC time to build the second scout. I honestly don't even think it's a really bad idea. I think the map knowledge and scouts are just generally valuable in this game because of their ability to regenerate health. I think that's one thing that nobody's brought up, at least that I've never heard use. Firelance. Okay. I think that's one thing that I have not heard anyone mention, but scouts having, like, regenerating health is really nice in this game, just because when they take a few arrows of hits, or, you know, they take a little bit of damage. In Age of Empires 2, your scout takes some damage, and it becomes like a liability. You're almost afraid to use it, whereas, you know, these scouts, it's like, okay, you go a little bit deep in the enemy base. Is TC kind of hurt? Yeah, you can, you know, flit around the map and maybe try to find some sheep. Maybe uncover the corners of the map, and after a bit, you know, they'll be good to go, and you can use them again in full capacity. Heading into Age 2, I will start making knights from my school of cavalry. That shouldn't surprise anybody. Versus the French, just as a French player, you should never be thinking whether or not the French player is going to make knights, because 9 times out of 10 they will, unless you're going for some sort of like a fast castle and you can't afford to spend the food and the gold. It's more a matter of how many knights they're going to make. Although I do delay that second knight because I did start to get some techs, namely forestry and survival techniques, and I only had 3 villagers getting gold on the age up, which maybe was a mistake, but I did really want to go hard into getting these 2 hunts because I saw that they were behind my base and really quite close together. And so I figured versus like an English and a French, I should be able to have enough knights versus that French player to even to contest his knights and essentially keep map control this area behind my base and take advantage of these beautiful, beautiful hunts, which this honestly is kind of the silent hero of this game for me. This is probably one of the reasons why I did so well this match, is that these 8 villagers were just so incredibly efficient. I built 1 outpost, and one thing I will say that I regret is not building a second one. However, the wood was going elsewhere. I definitely don't just sit on the wood. We've got the Abbasid player hanging out. He did go with the economic wing and got the fresh foodstuffs. Go figure. It is a really good upgrade, having the amount of food costs there. I did see blue sent some knights. Green actually pinged them, and I sent my knights up. He was very appreciative of that. And see, 1 spearman, 2 knights. He's going to go ahead and run away and go look for easy targets. I do have a 3rd knight coming, so the numbers are actually stacked against him now. Extra spearman, I mean, it's probably not going to be too big of a deal, but more or less evenly matched. He's going to go towards these villagers, and this is what I was saying, is I really wish I got that extra outpost. He didn't focus fire the villagers. He could have instantly got a kill there. Instead, he only ends up killing... Okay, no, he kills a couple of villagers in the end. He does lose a knight, which honestly, 2 villagers for a knight. Over time, that'll hurt me quite a bit. But he did just lose, like, 280 resources versus my 100. If you're not considering... And then, yeah, see this very unfortunate move by this French player. He's about to lose another knight. And, yeah, I would say that wasn't even worth it, honestly. That's one thing to consider with the knights, is that the French player can come in and get some really cheap villager kills. But they're not cheap. They're cheap in that they're easy, and they seem really abusive. And in all honesty, that guy had really screwed up. He lost like 380 resources. If you consider like 360, 300... I mean, that's like 420 food, 300 gold. He spent trying to harass me. That's like half of a castle age. And he got 2 villagers for that, so not really playing it out properly. I did see that those knights were coming in hard, and I just had a feeling that red, and something about playing 2v2, if you see a French and an English team, they're always going to do something in Feudal Age. So when I saw that he was running into my ally's base, and then, like, you know, I saw that he just kind of had the 1 barracks, and he I felt like I kind of needed to play bodyguard. I didn't want to get bullied by this French-English combo. So I built a second stable, and I started producing knights steady, and this turned out to be a really good idea, staying on that 1 TC and getting the double stable. I do start sending some villagers over to stone because I realize I'm not going to go to castle soon, so my next objective, because I'm not going to be holding on to that food and gold very easily, is instead of going for that castle age, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting some stone and banking up that wood, and then over time I'll have enough to get a second TC, and then I can get some eco going. So even if I have to sit in H2, French is okay sitting in H2 for a little while in this kind of a situation, just because I'm hoping that the Abbasid player is probably gonna try to tech up. I'm just kind of thinking that, because honestly Abbasid loves being in Castle Age for a lot of great reasons. So my new objective is to build extra knights, and what do we have here? What did I tell you, folks? When I saw this, I figured that this was absolutely golden. This is a lot of resources for him to lose, and I am really not going to end up losing much, because a group of knights, like 11 knights versus, you know, 11, 12 longbows and a ram, like that's free food. This is just gorgeous. I am getting so much value here out of this fight. And green doesn't even really need to help me, which is the best part. I've pretty much just fended off this push on my own, and all my knights are good to go. Green does have a ram here, and blue gets a really devastating charge off. I will lose a couple of knights here. I'm continuously producing them in 2 stables, and let us take a look. Let's see. Yeah, so the opponent French has gone to stable 2, but check this out. Oof. Ouch. Oh, yeah. See, that's 17 villagers there doing nothing, and there's a hunt here, like a nice big tasty hunt. There we go. Good stuff. Attaboy. But yeah, my 2 hunts are still going strong. All 8 of these villagers have been going absolutely ham. And they've been supplying enough food for me to go double racks, and in this fight back here, you didn't miss too much, trust me. This ram's gonna get killed taking out that, but you know, that's like 8 vills. I bet some of them died that are doing nothing but breaking down that ram. So honestly, I'd say this push is going pretty well. I'm gonna try to kill this tower because I don't want those longbowmen getting the attack speed boost. Still have 11 knights. Versus the enemy's 7 and like 3 or 4 longbowmen, and there are reinforcements coming in. Not producing right now, which is kind of lame. The blacksmith is coming up, and I do have the resources for a second TC soon, so I am about to start looking really good here. These villagers are going to be working for a really long time. You don't even really have to worry about them. Yeah, 620 food per minute. Is more than enough to sustain 2 TCs and 2 stables, and really don't have that many villagers on food. Where am I getting? Because there's 8 there. Ah, yes. And I got those extra sheep, so you know these villagers are working on sheep. They're happy doing what they're doing. This gold mine is quite saturated. Maps like these, it's kind of awkward when you're thinking about where you're going to go to get more gold. I saw this tree line and gold mine up here, and I figured this was a great spot for a town center. I did communicate to my green ally. I started pulling back, and I pinged here. I did put my knights in this little stealth forest here, because that push really wasn't going anywhere. I didn't feel like sticking around because my second TC is coming up, and I just kind of wanted to get numbers, get some techs. I do have a blacksmith up, so I can start getting range attack upgrades, but as you can see, I'm getting close to being able to purchase Castle Age, so I'm actually going to try to do that, because I figure if I can get up to Age 3, even if my eco isn't as good as my enemies, because again, I don't really know what they're doing, I'm always just assuming they're doing really good. I want to try to get Castle, and green did go Castle Age, which is good. These knights are unfortunately going to get swallowed. At least that one did. Got absolutely surrounded and slaughtered. Green is in the Castle Age, and he's went with the military wing, so he's going for camel support, which we like to see. It won't really benefit my army, but that's still really good. There were a couple of wolves here start attacking my villager. I did try to pull over a villager to start walling. On this map, I don't plan on walling myself all the way in, but I do want to get a wall down here that sort of goes along this area in the middle. And the concept is, if you look at the minimap, is I'm going for what's called an open wall. And I'm not necessarily looking to wall myself in like a castle, but if I can build a stone wall that goes up like this, it just means that the enemy can't flank me and run into this back area with this eco and this gold mine. It really means that I can kind of control where the enemy is going to come at me, and then I can comfortably take engagements in this area where green is more easily able to assist me, and I don't need to run my knights around chasing things. I can really pick my fights a lot better that way. And I am on my way to Castle Age. We are going to see some knights come in and try to get dirty, try to do some naughty stuff, but I did see that coming, so although green lost some villagers, I did manage to bail them out and push these knights away. They are going to go for another run-by, I think, on my hunters, because I'm going to remember that, but I am prepared for that. Which... Oh, see, yeah, I don't think I was watching here. That's sad. I spent that 100 wood and didn't even use it. So yeah, I'm definitely not playing a perfect game myself. However, these blue knights are not, they do not have the option of turning around. I mean, blue, we take a look at the military tab, has lost 11 troops that are all knights. So if you think about that, he has lost 1,500. He's lost a Castle Age's worth of units, which I have too, just about. But also, I've killed 30. A lot of those are longbowmen and stuff, but like, I really wish this showed resources lost and killed. But you know, considering that, taking a lot more efficient battles is what I'm trying to say. Green here is going to take out that scout. We have the delivery of a couple of sheeps there. I'm sure he's going to be glad to have. Looking at his base, everything's looking great. He does have outposts around his base and an extra TC, so he's playing smart. He did put up the market to start getting some trading going on, which we love to see. Of course, he didn't go for the trade wing, which naturally, no, that makes a lot of sense. But, you know, the market to start trading with the neutral outposts here is a really good idea, and it's going to be actually helped quite a bit by this wall coming out, which is another reason why it's good to build these walls. Build walls on any map, honestly. Like, I know that, like, the walls are seen, there's sort of a thing where, like, in the lower levels of gaming, in like an RTS like this, in Age of Empires, is that walls in the lower levels, everyone loves them because it makes them feel safe. And then once you start to get to the mid-level of play, people stop focusing on those because they realize that they are not... It's almost kind of like a placebo effect. Like, if you close yourself in, you're gonna die, get choked out. Oh, hang on. Hold that thought, because this is a really big push. I see all these knights, 15 knights outside my base. I do have 17 knights myself, and they are better upgraded, but this is a lot of longbows. Not veteran longbowmen, but they are longbows and 2 rams, so I am a little worried here. I did garrison up the TC. To get some DPS out. If you can fight underneath a defensive building and garrison it, I'm a little flailing. I'm not liking the numbers here. I'm really underestimating the power of my military here. So I'm putting up an extra stable there, which got interrupted because I put my vills back to the base because I did want them to start shooting at these Royal Knights to try to get the numbers in my favor. 2 stables that are going to produce fresh knights to help out these longbowmen. Now that these knights are attacking them, the longbowmen do 7 damage and the knights have 6 armor. So it looks like a lot of archers when they're all doing 1 damage. I mean, I don't even think he has +1. Let's take a look at that. Oh, he does have +1 attack, but that's not really helping him. The men-at-arms and the siege are coming through. Green, this is nice because this is taking the pressure off me at my base because I'm able to finish off this push. And the villagers come out and torch down the barracks. I do have a keep coming up, which it was sort of intended to distract the the battering rams and everything, and I kind of wanted it up to help with the fight. But in all honesty, the long game is that I want the keep on these buildings because now I can start producing my knights 20% cheaper. So that means that every 5th knight that I make, or 6th knight? Every 6th knight that I make is free. So that means I can afford to put on more stables eventually. I can keep pumping out knights and start turning around this momentum. And I can bring my surviving army. They're healing up on the way, and they're coming to help out Green, who's currently in the middle of a death push on Red. And, you know, people love playing the Abbasid because those spearmen are automatically bracing and interrupting those charges, which is great. I mean, they're still going to die, but they're going to tie up those knights. They're going to die a lot slower. Buying time for these men-at-arms to support these battering rams and taking down the council hall, and also for my knights to come in and try to help. They will not save the mangonel, but they will wipe out these knights. And the beautiful thing about Abbasid is just as fast as that mangonel died, those men-at-arms are hard at work, and I can continue doing their job while they get back to making some of those beautiful mangonels. Look at that, no time at all. And these longbowmen are going to get crushed. Back at my base, I have extinguished the fire in my school of cavalry, and I'm going to start making a couple more stables. The hunts are exhausted, so I have to move my villagers back and start making arms. This is a bit of an awkward period of time, however, I'm not too worried. The stable I'm not actually going to use because, I mean, I made it kind of like in a panic, and I don't really want to use it because I'd rather spend another 150 wood to put up a stable underneath this keep and get that knight discount, which is really important. And we do see the veteran Royal Knights have they do have level 2 ranged armor, they do have level 1 melee armor, so they're quite well upgraded. Of course, as you probably know, the French get their melee attack upgrades for free. So we do have a true blue Castle Age army, two true blue Castle Age armies. This is an absolutely killer combo, honestly. This Abbasid Siege Infantry combo backed up by the French Heavy Cav. I'd really hate to be on the receiving end of that, and Red is knocked out of the game with that mangonel shot falling on his landmark TC, and yeah, the match is called at that point. I mean, the red and blue player in this game did a pretty good job of taking the initiative and attacking, but I think the issue is that they did not, they just didn't have the techs in. Which, if you think that fight on, that attack on me, if those were veteran longbowmen, if they had +2 attack, if the enemy had veteran Royal Knights, just generally more powerful units, they definitely would have seen a way better outcome from that attack on me. They probably would have taken out my my school of cavalry. It would have been a lot scarier, essentially. But the thing is that because my Royal Knights had that extra armor, HP, and damage, they're just so chunky, and they were taking basically no damage. So the longbowmen looked like they were quite threatening just because there were so many of them there. But in all honesty, as far as like ranged DPS support, they were really doing quite lackluster, because if you think there was like, let's say like 20 there, 20, let's be generous and say there was like even like 30 there. That's 30 damage per volley. That's not bad considering that my knights have over 200 health. With like 17-20 of my knights there, it was pretty much just my knights versus blue's knights, and blue didn't have enough knights to really even get anywhere close to taking out mine. I mean, they did get me on the back foot. They almost killed off my school of cavalry, which, I mean, I probably could have repaired that, but it would have been a bit more of a pain in the ass. But then green, of course, wasn't even there. He didn't even have to help me. He actually just went and pushed red. And because of that, red had nothing in his base to defend against that push. Those rams took out his council hall basically for free. It didn't look like red had really much else in the base or anything else going on except rams and longbowmen, which honestly, like in a team game, especially when you're going like feudal fights and like early castle, if what you bring to the table is longbows and rams, I mean, you know, usually your ally can build something to complement that, because archers are just great. Longbowmen are fantastic, and rams, I mean, especially as of now, only taking up 1 pop space. I guess like the early game rams are a bit weaker with the lower HP. but they're still great, still awesome. And British French is just an iconic combo, I'd say, because what is the best composition to make in a 1v1? And that people hate to see from the French is when the French goes Royal Knight and Archers, because the Archers kill off the Spearmen and any potential counters for the Knights, and then the Knights kill everything else, and nobody knows how to deal with it until they get to Castle Age. Well, you can go support 2 stables with 1 TC fairly easily as the French, and then the British player gets 2 free archery ranges aging up, and they can just go for a heavy food wood eco, and heck, maybe even throw in an extra archery range, grab a blacksmith, get that range attack upgrade. The French and the English Feudal Age all-in is so powerful in 2v2s, but unfortunately, that starting ram and that starting mast in the middle of the map got scouted out and taken out by my knights. Green did a great job of just buckling down and getting the Castle Age, and not to pat myself on the back too much, but I did a great job of switching into a heavy military and just keeping control of the map and just making sure that blue player could not terrorize us with his knights and try to keep us behind. Just making sure that everybody was safe and we didn't have to worry about getting outmatched in the heavy cav department meant that honestly it just bought time for us to get a technological advantage and then really leverage that into, for me, a solid defense, and for Green, a massive offense. And that really did turn out to be a satisfying game. Both him and I were just honestly just chumming it up in the chat. I kind of wish that the text chat was showing in the game, because I found a kindred spirit. It felt like, when you're playing a game like this, especially in RTS, I don't know what it is, but you have a good game of Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 4, where it's just you and another guy, another random guy in a team game, and the absolute most beautiful and dramatic things happen when basically pure strangers are playing together in a game that is as intense and, in terms of attention, it's intensive as this. Take a look at the score tabs here. I don't know what the stats of these players are. I'm assuming, because I'm like a 1200 team player, I'm assuming that this was a fair match and that their stats just look bad because they didn't take very good fights. I would say that Blue was probably sabotaged, considering he did the exact same thing as me. What I'm assuming is that Blue was sabotaged by ultimately not using his villagers very well, because villagers never really came under any threat, and as you can see, until about well after we were age 3 and everything, I mean, over half the game everybody pretty much had the same amount of villagers, more or less. I mean, I wasn't anywhere near the top of the pack for villagers at any point. I actually stopped making them at about the 17-minute mark. Apparently I forgot to make more. That's probably when I got under attack there, honestly. I'd probably just stopped spending food there and was kind of desperate to get knights out. But, considering everybody's economy should have been more or less the same, one thing I will say is, let's see what happened to Blue. Later in the game he started floating more resources. Food. Score. Yeah, no, in all honesty, the scores were not really that bad. I mean, me and Green kind of pulled ahead after some defenses, but this wasn't a landslide game up until the point that Blue and Red failed that push, which is just kind of confusing because the colors are screwed up here in the score menu. But the English and the French opponents, I mean, they kind of stagnated around here after losing that fight in terms of score. But that's exactly when my ally and I exploded. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that match. I hope you enjoyed my commentary and everything was good. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.